Hey guys, and thank you so much for tuning into my channel. My name is DeLadysigner, and we are back with another episode of our city zoo. And in this episode, we're going to build an Okapi Habitat. And this Okapi Habitat is located at the other side of the Riviera Hall. So if you walk through the Riviera Hall from the entrance kind of area, you can go to the back side of the building and then you walk towards this Okapi Habitat and obviously the rest of the more African animal region of the zoo. So the habitat is separated with its own path, obviously. So I first draw out the path in a circle, so to make sure where I wanted to have the fences of the habitat. But I actually didn't want to have like 100% of the habitat surrounded by paths. So in the end, I deleted it and kept the borders of the fences for drawing out still of the habitat itself. Obviously, I'm still changing it and tweaking it along the way. Like we're also building this shelter building, which obviously you don't want the fences to go through it. So obviously you change that later on in the video. But I wanted to have this separate path around the habitat to give the Okapi a little bit more privacy. Like the Okapi is a very much shy animal, but still when I look at zoos and their habitats for the Okapi, they're actually very plain habitats. Like you would actually imagine an Okapi habitat to be an area where the Okapi can really hide away for the guests and those kind of things. Like we did also in Mainland Zoo, we really made a very tropical and lush habitat for the Okapi to really be able to hide away from the guests if it wants to. But in this case, I wanted to go a little bit more realistic. So I used those plain habitats of real life zoos as inspiration for this habitat. Like the shelter itself is not really inspired by any building, more inspired by the buildings we already have, like for the bongo habitat and for the llama. So really staying in that same style and that same technique that we use and the same color scheme, obviously. But other than that, this building is not really inspired by any real life zoo that I can think of, at least. I was trying to find anything, but I wasn't really happy with what I found. So I decided to go and build something myself with the same style as the buildings we have right now. But to make sure that you have like these separated paths, you actually make sure that the guests will not have like these bottlenecks and that it's not that busy. So hopefully the guests will only go and watch the Okapi from the second path and not from the main path. So that is also helpful for the Okapis to have less stress because of less people looking into the habitat or passing by. Now the building was quite a challenge still because I decided to go not for the 4x4 meter wide grid, but I think I chose the 2x2 meter wide grid. And for the roof, that was kind of a challenge. I actually had something different in my mind. And then again, I was like, oh yeah, that's not really going to happen because you only have 4x4 meter wide roof pieces. So I really had to adjust my idea a little bit. But in the end, I'm still happy with how that building has turned out, obviously. So I filled up the building with, of course, some simple hay beddings and also the water trolls, like the bigger ones. I actually like these guys more. I really do hope that Frontier will add different types of water. You know, guys know me right now. I have been complaining about the water pumps since the beginning of the game, and we still have the same water pumps and only these water trolls and like the smaller ones. But these water trolls has to be refilled all the time. So yeah, mostly when I build some habitats, I always choose for a natural water section so the animals can drink from there. But in this case, we don't have a water section for the Okapi. So this one is really more of a plain habitat without any terrain modifications at all, to be honest. And obviously the building itself, in the indoor section, I tried to use the timberwood planks to give it a little bit more contrast and detailing. And on the outside, I also use a did I say Timberwolf? I'm not really sure. Timberwood planks. I'm not really sure if I said that. If I did, timberwood planks and timberwood style. And yeah, on the outside, I used the same thing, but then also with the Asian stone pillars because I just really like that as that little small detail on the bottom of the building. I just really do like that. And for the rest, I just only use the Asian timber wood planks to give it a little bit more detail. It's not a spectacular, interesting building, but it fits the area and it fits the style we are going for this zoo. So I'm really happy with how that one has turned out. So just like we did with the other habitats in City Zoo, especially in this region, as you can tell maybe in the backside of this building, I used again the bramble bushes, and I'm not really sure how the yellow bushes are called, but those yellow bushes to give it a little bit more contrast. And I used that like all the way around the habitat because I don't know, I just really do love that look of it. And obviously we have a lot of more open areas, which we're going to fill up with a lot of trees and bushes, like we also did a lot in City Zoo so far, because I just really like that idea. I keep having in my mind that when I walk around in Rotterdam Zoo, you can't really see that much. Like whenever you walk on a path, you have like a lot of high bushes and a lot of high trees around you for a lot of areas, and you only see things opening up when you're at a habitat or so. But there are a lot of areas where you just can't see around you and you just walk over a path to see where you're going. And yeah, that is just something I have in my mind a lot with City Zoo. I really try to resemble that, even though it's still not completely dense and completely closed off around this habitat. I really try to give them that privacy that the okapis really need for their habitat. So as I mentioned, like the habitat itself is very plain because I did see that a lot at the pictures I looked up of real life zoos and their okapi habitat. You most often just see like a log on the floor or like just a few, like 2 or 3 trees in the habitat and maybe some wooden fences. It's really not that spectacular. So I really wanted to resemble that, and I think with the combination of the dense area around the habitat and the very plain area inside of the habitat, it actually really works well. I do really like the contrast of it, and I think it looks really nice having this open field for the okapi roaming around in there, and then the more dense and well, I wanted to say foresty, but it's not really foresty, but more park-ish feeling around it. I think it really looks well, and it really fits well into this area. And I also used a lot of the more longer grass actually in this habitat. Not per se that the okapi, I didn't really pay too much attention to what the okapi likes as terrain. I always find it a little bit weird, as in like, okay, I can tell that Frontier looks at like what kind of biome do they live in, what kind of terrain would you find there, but still I don't really find it realistic sometimes to really follow the rules of the kind of terrain these animals want in their habitat, and I want to have some more freedom. And in this case, I actually really like the very long grass in the habitat. I don't know, I really gave some kind of really nice atmosphere into the habitat itself, so I decided to keep the long grass as much as possible. I obviously switched it a little bit with shorter grass and a little bit of the mulch, but yeah, I don't know, I just really like the longer grass feeling. It's something that I don't really use often, but I don't know, the game just looks beautiful, I guess, with the long grass, so why not use it in your advantage in this case? And of course, I also used my new Ravid rock set, the small little rocks. As you can tell from all my previous episodes, I basically start using them in like every habitat. I think they just fit so well, and they give that little extra detailing touch of your habitat, which I just absolutely love. So yeah, I always use them a little bit in this habitat, but prepare for me using them a lot in the future as well, because I don't know, I just really like the vibe they give to your habitat. And I use the same brown rock color as I use in the giant otter habitat we built on the other side of the zoo. So yeah, it kind of fits well with the tropical rocks, which I use a lot in this, which is actually a temperate biome, but I use the tropical rock most often, I think, in this zoo. So I do think that fits just the best in this case. And also talking about those small rocks. No, I'm not gonna talk 10 minutes about rocks. I just want to say, like, the next episode, I already finished, but I really used those small little rocks as a very natural boundary in a giraffe habitat. And I think that looks absolutely amazing. Like, yes, I do have to admit, that habitat is also inspired by Rotterdam Zoo. I just couldn't help myself. I was looking into giraffe houses, and yeah, well, it's so iconic. I think they call it the onion in Rotterdam Zoo, but then of course in the Dutch name. And I think it's just such a well, not really spectacular building, but it's such an iconic building. And I already used it as inspiration for the giraffe house we did in Mainland Zoo, I think it was. But this one is still completely different, and it gives a completely different vibe to it, and it's more of a city zoo style, so I didn't really replicate it, but just use it as inspiration for a giraffe house. And together with like those small little rocks, and I used that like all around it, because that was also how they used it in real life. And it actually looks really amazing. So I really am looking forward to share that with you guys, because that is definitely a different way of how you can use those small little rocks instead of like just some details here and there. That is more of like really a natural boundary almost with those small little rocks. I really love the end result of that, so I really do hope that you guys like that too. And also, by the way, I got a lot of questions about why I did not create a habitat yet for the dwarf caiman. And if you have seen my penguin habitat that we did for City Zoo, I was admitted to you guys that I really didn't feel creative for a few days. And I had that, especially I think because of the dwarf caiman. I just had no idea what to do with it. And it really drove me nuts at some point. And I was building things and I was deleting it again, and I just didn't really feel creative at all. And that is something I never had earlier, at least not this bad, when I was playing Planet Zoo. So yeah, the dwarf caiman, as much as I want to, I just don't feel anything at the moment for creating a habitat for them. And if I do, I will definitely build a habitat for them and share it with you guys. But as long as you don't see me building a dwarf caiman habitat, it's really because I just don't feel inspired at all to build something for these animals. So yeah, I'd rather just wait until I feel like I know what I can do for them and something cool, instead of just like making something I'm not happy with, if that makes sense. So yeah, I really apologize for that. And yeah, well, the terrapin is obviously a different type of animal, which does not really fit in City Zoo as long as we don't have more aquariums, I feel. Not really sure even if we will have an aquarium in City Zoo. We might even be finished before we ever see an aquarium DLC, if that's going to be a case at least. I really do think that there must be coming an aquarium DLC in the future. It's gonna be so much easier now they do have like swimming animations and stuff. I think they really are able to pull that off in a later stage, so I'm just super excited for that. But City Zoo will not really have any space for an aquarium, I'm afraid. Well, maybe if we just extend the zoo a lot, I guess, but I'm not really sure we will ever see the terrapin in this whole zoo. But obviously it might be ending up in our Pontus Zoo, which is our aquatic zoo, which we just started. So it will probably be ending up in there, but not at the moment when we only have one exhibit, which looks awesome with these aquariums, I guess. So yeah, my sincere apologies that I did not create a habitat yet for the dwarf caiman. I just don't really feel it at this point, and hopefully we will be later and we will be building an awesome habitat for them in a later stage. So I hope you guys will be patient waiting for me until I have the creativity and feel something to create for them. But yeah, back to the Okapi Habitat. I do really hope you guys enjoyed and that you guys feel inspired with this new, actually very simple habitat, but still looks super natural and super beautiful. I'm very happy with it. So do let me know in the comment section down below what you guys think of this Okapi habitat in our City Zoo. Stay tuned for the giraffe habitat. I'm also very excited to share that one with you guys. And subscribe, of course, if you haven't already, and leave a like at the video if you guys enjoyed. And if you want to support the channel a little extra, you may want to consider to become a Fay Fam member with the link down in the description or with the join button of YouTube. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I really hope to see you guys all in the next one. Bye guys!